Let's face it, getting older sucks. Getting older in the age of social media is even worse. Do you hate it when people tell you to age gracefully? Do you want to know how to live your best life at any age? Well, so do we. First rule, don't call me ma'am. Now, here's Jodi Miller. Hey everybody, welcome to Don't Call Me Ma'am. Don't fucking call me ma'am. I'm Jodi Miller, and today we have a very special guest. And I know I say that every single podcast, but this time I mean it. No, he's very special. A, because we have similar hair, and B, because we're both wearing kimono/dusters, which we're gonna get into. And also C, because we were both on America's Got Talent. He was on twice. I'm so excited to have him. He's an actor, he's a comedian, he's a writer, he's a producer. He is just fucking funny. Put your hands together for Alex Hooper. Yay! The crowd goes wild.
Yeah, just for the fact, thank you for comparing your hair to mine, because that makes
well,
me
yours
feel
like back right now. So people, no, your hair's back right now, but like I've seen it down and like, you know, full, and I've seen it on TV and it's like full. Like we've got like, you know, the curly hair, gingery, you know.
Yeah, there's a little strawberry blonde to mine that you have as well. And
well, I pay for mine though.
We own our look.
Yours is natural. I pay for mine.
Oh no, well I just squeeze babies into it all day, babies and lemons, and then I get their youthfulness to come out in my curls.
See, that's amazing. See, like I was using toddlers. I didn't know it was babies. I didn't know you needed.
No, you got to go young as possible. That's where you really get the fresh rejuvenation.
Well, I'm actually just draining their blood to stay young. So, I mean, I might as well just, you know, squeeze the rest right into my hair. Hey guys.
Of course, you know, it's like the Native Americans use every part of the buffalo. You know what I mean? If you're gonna take a baby, I'm so glad we started.
We're going into like people in conspiracy theories, like QAnon right now, where they're like, "Oh my God, I knew it! All of Hollywood, they steal babies, they're child sex slaves. You're squeezing them in their hair." Like the next big thing that comes out. Did you hear about Alex Hooper and Jodi Miller? I knew it.
I mean, let's hope those clickbait articles get released.
Oh shit, seriously. So okay, let's talk about this because, and I had to like rewatch your first AGT, which
the 2018 one.
Yeah. So first of all, it's kind of unprecedented that they had you come back. I mean, have they ever had a comic come back or no?
I don't know about a comic. There's a couple contestants that have definitely come back before. There's a couple danger acts that I know. And my friend Seth Word has been on the show like 3 times. He like does these insane variety acts where he dresses like an animal and like hurts himself on stage. He's been on multiple times, but from what I understand, it's pretty rare to get the opportunity to go back on the show once you've already done it.
It is rare, and I've never seen a comic. I feel like it would happen more with like singers or acts like that, where they're like, "Come back next year, like you're so close," or something like that, and then you know what I mean. Then they come back, and it's like a success story. Yours, so I rewatched it, and I remember watching it in 2018, and I again, you know, watched it a couple days ago. From someone who has been on the show, and I believe in the same theater, and it's like 3,000 people.
Yep.
You know, the judges. It's for anyone who doesn't know, and I've talked openly about this on this podcast, on other podcasts. Like I, at the time when I went on, had already been doing stand-up, you know, 20 plus years. But it doesn't matter with the nerves, and there's producers running around and you're waiting all day and shooting like B-roll. By the time you get, and they never show comedians, like they kind of show you, they're like, your mark is out there, but they don't really go, you don't get to really get on the stage before you do it. Then all of a sudden somebody hands you a mic and they're like, and you're out. And like, I remember being as nervous as like my first time ever. Like it's just a lot of weird pressure. You know what I mean? Like,
those lights are also so bright in the whole, and they have them on throughout the entire theater.
Yes.
So we're used to going into a dark room and the lights are on us and we have a vibe of what's happening. But in that theater, you're looking at every single person's face.
You see every person's face.
That's
It's
not
really,
exactly
yes,
what I want.
it's really nerve-wracking. And then they do something that, comics are obviously not used to, is they talk to you before you do stand up, which
Right.
is very unusual. Like, we don't do that. We go out, we start our set and we can talk afterwards. But so it's a very strange thing to have a conversation with them, and then they're like, okay, now be funny. And you've got to, like, I remember I was like, I'm going to take a couple seconds. Like, this is me time. And taking in a breath, looking down so that I could, like, look away, and then, raise my gaze and just, like, lock focus on Howard Stern. I literally just went right up and right to him. But so, yeah, so they're talking to you your first time you come out, which, by the way, I mean, if anyone has not seen Alex's comedy, please watch his comedy and please watch his AGT, multiple
Oh, thank you. I
AGTs.
appreciate
Yes,
that.
of course. But I mean, you're already in a costume. I mean, you're already, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
what's going through your mind at that?
I mean, at that
The
point,
first
like
time, the first time.
the first time I did it, I got there at 9 a.m. that day, and I didn't
Yep.
shoot till 8:30 at night.
Yeah, I got
So,
there, it's at 5:30 and I didn't shoot till 1:30.
oh God, I mean, it's just so, and you're in your outfit all day. You're sitting in these uncomfortable chairs. There's basically no food except for
Nothing.
Dunkin' Donuts and some coffee, which is the worst thing I could keep putting in my body before
Oh
a
my
huge
God, it's
performance.
horrible. There are kids everywhere, all hopped up on sugar, strange dance acts. You're like, you just want to, like, sort of,
Yeah.
like, get into your own head and have a moment to, like, regroup, and you can't. There's no moment and there's no privacy.
No, you feel alienated because of that, because like everyone else seems to be there with a bunch of like friends, and they have their dance troupe, and their mom is
Yes.
over there with them for their singing their song. And with me, I was like, I feel so odd and alone. And I like found another like stand up, and I like clung to them. I was like, look, just don't leave me. I don't even know you, but we're in here together, man. And I mean, it just like, all day you just think like, okay, I'm going over this again and again. I'm going to go out there. I know what I'm going to do. It's like when everyone has a plan until you get punched in the face. And that's how I felt. As soon as I started, I was like, oh, I just got uppercutted so hard, and I need to remain on my feet and keep fighting.
Okay. For anyone who has not seen that audition, I remember, because I've seen it now twice. It is so, as a comic and an audience member, but specifically as a comic, it cringe. Like, my whole body was like, oh my God. Now, I mean, it was very funny. You can't take that away
Thank
from
you.
you. But from that first Tyra Banks slam, I was like, oh Jesus Christ. Oh my God. Oh my God. Like, I wanted you to run off the stage. That's it. And then I was so impressed that you not only stood your ground, but you took your time, because for a lot of comics that are just starting out, or they've only been doing it, a few years, when you're having, I remember, when I was a younger comic, when you're not having a good set, whether it's AGT or in a bar for 5 people, we have a tendency to rush. We'll rush our material, which we'll just get through it so we can get the fuck off the stage. But not only did you not, get the fuck off the stage, you took your time. You really committed to it and was like, fuck it, I'm just going to do it. Already knowing the reaction of your first joke. Like, what were you feeling inside your body?
I mean, panic, really. I mean, because you've had this moment so many times when you go out there with all the confidence in the world and you deliver that first punchline and they're not with you. And in a setting like that, you're like, oh God, like this is like your entire body kind of tenses up and your brain starts firing on all synapses. Like, where do we go? What do we do? How do we handle this and stay in control?
Right.
And the craziest thing about that performance is you're on stage, you're supposed to be on stage for 2 minutes. I was on stage for 7 minutes.
Oh my God. Why
The
so? Wait a minute,
audience,
7 minutes. Why? But just because of
because
the booze and everything?
because of the booze, because literally the audience was so angry at me for making these jokes that
Oh,
anytime I went to speak, they would beam louder to drown me out. And so as I continued little by little, just trying to like make my way through it, and like telling myself, just keep smiling, don't break, you got this, just keep going and finish. But I knew Simon wasn't hitting his buzzer,
yeah.
so I had to finish. And it got to the point when the judges actually turned around and begged the audience to calm down, because Mel B, the Spice Girl, was like,
Yeah.
if you don't shut up, he will never leave. And so they literally had to take a minute and calm down the audience. And I was just standing on stage like, oh God, okay,
Oh my God. So you don't even,
all
because
right.
we don't
And
even
I
see
mean,
that. We don't
the
see that. They edited it out, obviously that part, and they put it together as if it's like, I didn't know. Like, I can only imagine that inner dialogue is that that's going on in your head while they're trying to calm down the audience so they can just get you off the stage. I can't even,
it was such an insane experience. It's just being booed by that many people while you're alone on stage is just such a rare event. Like, of course, it happens to sports teams all the time, but they're
yeah, of
with their teammates and
course.
things like that. They take it. But for me to be standing on there knowing this is the biggest opportunity I've ever had in comedy.
Yep.
I am bombing my dick off as far as I can tell. And there is nowhere to go except finish and run to the wings and get out of there as fast as I can. And I mean, that feeling in me, that negative energy, I'm a very positive person.
Right.
I like myself. I've done a lot of self-work to get
Yeah.
myself to this point. That negative energy stays in you and it
Oh God.
swirls like a
Yes.
sickness,
Yeah,
and
it's
you feel it.
really, it's very damaging. Um, I want to talk about that when you got off stage, you know what I mean? Because what happened with you is obvious, is the absolute opposite that happened to me. But
Right.
so, so you're listening to all of these judges, you know what I mean? Just no, just hating you. And then Simon, who thinks you're funny, gives you a yes. How did that feel when you heard him say that?
That just meant like, I was like, okay, good. One of these people understands that this is total satire.
Yes.
Like, and the fact is, the people that can't see me, I'm wearing this insane, like,
It's like a
form-fitting
neon. It's like a
romper.
glittery squirrel. You look like a
Yeah.
a disco squirrel.
Exactly. I'm wearing a tail, for Christ's sake. And people still don't understand that it's not serious. Like, to me, that's what I looked at. I was like, okay, I'm a court jester. No one is allowed to say anything mean to this regal family,
Right.
except I've been given the right. So
Right.
I'm going to go in there and do this thing. And I mean, when I got off stage,
Yeah. So tell me that feeling, because for those of you who don't know, whether you do well on that stage or you bomb miserably or anywhere in between, the amount of adrenaline that is coursing through your veins when you get off of that stage, and you're sort of like handled and brought over to the back, like it's just, I can't even describe it. So there's so much going on that your brain can't process it. So how did you feel when you got off that stage? And what was like, did Tyra say anything to you or anything? Or?
No, she turned away so quickly when I got off stage. And I literally like a couple producers and like camera people and stuff were like, dude, that was awesome.
I'm
And
sure they were. I guarantee you the second you started, although they already knew, because did you have a private audition before you did that big audition? Yes,
I
as
did.
did
Yeah.
I. I had a private audition with 5 people in a warehouse. It was very weird. But
Yeah.
so they obviously already knew what you were going to do. I don't think people understand how scripted reality television is, especially competitions, and how many.
Every
Yes.
word a stand-up
Every
comedian
word has to
says
be
on that
approved.
show.
Everything, every producer knows everything. So I guarantee you, this is reality TV, gold. This is gold. They were probably like close up on Alex. They knew what was going to happen for the most part, and they wanted to capture it. So, I mean, there's no way that they're not airing that. So, of course, did they want to get B-roll with you afterwards?
They asked me because I couldn't get it out of my head that I had done a terrible job, because that was the only thing I felt. I didn't hear much laughter or anything. I just saw angry people
Mhm.
and judges buzzing me. And you didn't, like, thank God you didn't have to go through the buzzers, Jodi. It is the loudest sound you have ever heard in your entire
Oh
life when
my
those
God.
buzzers go off. And again, they're supposed to shake you. They're meant to throw you off whatever you're doing because of how loud they are. And it's just like a violent piercing in your brain. And so literally, like, my producer came up and she's like, oh my God, that was so great, are you okay? And I was just like, I don't know. And she said, I need you to go talk to the social media team. And I was like, I need 10 minutes by myself right now. And she was like, okay, go take your time and then come back. And I just left. I
Oh,
just walked right out.
wow.
I was like, I don't want to face whatever they're going to ask me. I don't want to have this feeling anymore. I just want to get home and see my partner and talk to her about it, because she was
Oh,
in the audience. And
oh
I
God.
felt for her. She said as soon as I started, her and her sister just grabbed each other's knees and were just like, shit, 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 shit. So I walk outside after I'm done performing, and I find my girlfriend, and I just asked her, like, point blank, I'm like, what did that look like to you? And she said, it's any normal person's worst nightmare.
Oh my
And I
God.
was like, great. So it felt that exactly how it felt. Okay. I was hoping you would be like, actually, it looked amazing. You have no idea how composed you were. No, not that at all. She's very blunt and she's very
So,
open with me.
so that feeling, that horrible feeling, how long did that last?
I mean, multiple days of me trying to, like, get that out of me, and just like a lot of meditation and a lot of just positivity and a lot of just love from friends and family, and of me, like, telling the story. And basically, I kind of felt like it was that, like I told my friend the next day, and he was like, dude, that sounds like that Bill Burr set from Philly where he's just like
Oh, yeah.
eating it, but he just keeps giving it back to the crowd. And he's like, maybe that's what this is. Maybe it's your Bill Burr moment. I was like, or maybe because ATT can do whatever they want and manipulate this footage, they will release this clip as worst comedian of all time, thinks he's a big shot, and we stick it to him. And I was like, ah!
Oh my God, yeah. I mean,
like,
well,
what
first
can
of
I
all,
do?
when any comic has a bad set, we that is a terrible feeling. Doesn't matter how long you've been doing it. In fact, we usually just try to get up as quickly as possible, whether it's the same night or like the next night, in normal times, not COVID times. But, just to shake that feeling off, and we're like, whatever. But this is, that stage, that arena. Was there at any point that you thought, okay, they probably won't air it?
I mean, the from filming to airing was 2.5 months.
Yes, it is.
So
Yes.
I spent that whole time freaking out. Like, I thought about it every day of like, oh my God, what are they gonna do with that? Or maybe they'll show. I thought, like, maybe they'll show like 5 seconds of it. Maybe I'll be one of the compilations where the fail things of their, like, and then we had these freakazoid weirdos
Right,
come on
right.
stage. And I just thought they'd show me like spinning my tail getting booed. And then when they actually told me I was gonna be on, they don't tell you the capacity that you're going to be on. So
Yeah.
I have a producer just emailing me. She's like, Alex, it's airing this Tuesday. It looks amazing. And I was like, okay, but what does that mean?
Mhm.
Like, amazing how? And when I actually saw it, I was like, oh, they edited it in a way that makes me look very, very strong and poised and a lot. And it doesn't, like, it does look like I'm bombing, but it also looks like I'm doing it completely on purpose, which is a factor that I never really considered.
Right. I think, yes. I mean, that's exactly what they did. And, for those of you that don't know how these things work, they can edit it any way they want to. And they usually do. They usually do it to make it look worse than it is, or to make it look better than it is. They do a lot of things. Rarely is it exactly how it played out. But it's, it definitely, like, I could look at it and be like, it's funny that, that on your second, audition, that Howie said, look, when he saw it, he thought it was really funny. You know what I mean? It's one of those things. Yes, with with the audience, with the energy, of course, and people were just shocked because they didn't know what to expect. So I'm gonna get to your second audition in a minute. because that's a totally different experience that I haven't had. And to do it without any audience is also, I feel like you were definitely robbed a little bit. So I was robbed in a different way, but so I had all those people, you know what I mean? Sitting there all day long. I go out there, they talk to me. It's awkward. And then I do my set, and I knew, unlike you, well, just the opposite of you, actually. No, you did know in the first, like, few seconds. I knew in my first few seconds that I was fucking in the zone. There was the second I locked eyes and I started speaking, I'm like, this is done. And they didn't show they couldn't, because of time purposes, the way they edited it. I had like 3 or 4 applause breaks.
Oh,
so
man.
I had the opposite of holding for laughter so many times, and just like the best set you can ever imagine. Just like, I literally looked up and I'm like, get fucking ready. And that was every part of my body. And it was, that 4-judge standing ovation. People were losing their fucking shit. I get off stage, Nick Cannon grabs me, and I'm actually someone who doesn't like to be hugged like that. So I'm like, oh my God, you're hugging me. That's what I said. I go, oh my God, you're hugging me. Just because I was so like, my body was tingling and he like hugged me. And then Eliza was there. She was in the audience. She came running backstage and she was hugging me. And it's, she's gone through that obviously with Last Comic Standing, and it's such a totally different animal. And then I had every producer was all over me, clawing me. They're like, we need you over here. We need you over here. You have to talk to these people. They were literally, my manager was upstairs. They're like, we need all our social media. It was and then unlike you, my high was so high. I went home that night, and Josh Sandoval, like, do you know Josh? Who he works with a lot of comics. Anyway, Josh called me up because he came for the afternoon taping, and he is like, oh my God, no one today has stopped talking about you. Like, they're poising you to win.
Man.
A female comic. They told my manager, it was one of those things like, are you ready to win this? And I'm like, yeah, let's fucking do it. They were, send me your next 3 sets. We're moving forward. So I'm waiting, the 2 weeks in between that round to go to New York for the next round. I'm waiting for all my information. And one of the other comics, Rachel, she got hers. And then another comic who also had a great audition got a rejection letter. And I thought, he got like 4 yeses too. How did he get a rejection? It was very weird. And like, people were telling me, they're like, oh, that happens. But I wasn't hearing anything. And the only thing I was hearing from my producer is like, just hold tight. You might be going straight to lives. So I was like, well, that makes sense. That's how good of an audition it was. So I was like, yeah, I mean, it was the best feeling I'd ever had in my life. I'm sorry that you didn't have that, because, your second audition was so great and you had at least a standing ovation from the judges. But that energy, now you had honestly the polar opposite. It was like all of that, like, but then what happened to me was, the day I'm supposed to leave for New York, I get an email at 6 a.m. from my producer that just said, sorry, they decided not to move forward with you. Best of luck. And I couldn't even comprehend. I didn't understand. I didn't even know what that, I was like, what? Like, what are you talking about? I signed the contracts. I couldn't even fucking speak. So I'm sure. Just like emailing her. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. What does that mean? She's like, I'm sorry, I don't have any more information. I couldn't I did not leave my house for 3 days. I couldn't do anything for 2 weeks. I almost completely left this industry because of that. I was like, oh, I read the signs wrong. This was the universe telling me to stay the fuck down. That's what I thought it was. That devastating. And then I thought, no one's ever going to see it. They can't show my audition because I'm nowhere. So I was like there, and I had heard horror stories about people that, like Eric Schwartz, like other people that did really well. They never aired their episodes. I'm like, yeah. So I was like, that's it. That experience only exists in my mind, and it'll have to be enough. And I got to that place. And then, yes, 2 months later, I get a phone call from a different producer. Your episode's airing on Tuesday. Looks great. I mean, it's the same script. And I go, what? She goes, oh my God, it looks amazing. And you're commercial to commercial. You're a whole segment. I go, you do know that you guys like kicked me out. You cut me. You cut. And she goes, I don't know anything about that, but it's airing on. And I kept saying it. I go, is this a fucking joke? She was probably so scared of me. Then my manager's like, I don't trust them. I don't know how they're going to edit this. They're going to make you look bad. I go, it's impossible. There's like 4 applause breaks. They cannot make me look bad. It's impossible. So thankfully
Right.
I knew an editor who actually reached out to me to say, oh my God, I just edited your clip. That was like the weirdest thing on Facebook. I worked with him on a pilot at Oxygen, and he goes, oh my, like he didn't even know that I could, because I couldn't say anything. He's like, I cannot believe you're like the best audition in LA. He's like, it's unbelievable. And I go, can I just ask you, do I look good in this fit? Like, he was like, oh my God, you look amazing. So that's all I cared about, that they didn't try to make me look crazy or weird or anything. And then watching it again live, the way you watched it, and you had that reaction like, oh, I see what they did. And like, you know what I mean? Watching it again, I felt that same joy. And also my phone froze. My social media froze when my audition aired on the East Coast. I don't know if that happened to you. Like your phone like freezes, like you're getting all of these notifications. And I was like, fuck them. I have 2 amazing fucking moments in my life. They'll never be able to take that away from me. And, you know,
Exactly.
after digging deeper, and I talk about this on a previous episode, so I won't get into it. It came out to like, they lied to the judges about why I left. They lied to everyone. They just wanted a mom. It was like between, and just me and fucking Wendy Lieberman, and they didn't even air her audition. They're like, we want a mom. And we can't have 2 white Jewish women. I mean,
That's just, these stories are so commonplace, and it really is sad because I've known so many people who you go on the show like you did, you get 4 yeses, you have an amazing set. In your mind, your life is about to change. You're like,
well, they tell you.
I'm about to sell out every single club that I do.
Yes.
Every club's going to want to book me. I'm going to be adding shows. I'm going to be doing door deals. Everything's about to happen.
Yes. Well, they tell you that.
Exactly. And then you will never know why, because if they're not, like, the fact is they gave you some kind of bullshit reasoning. Most people don't even get that. They will email and be like, hey, what happened? I thought I was going to be on TV. And they're just like, they will never tell you why.
Yes.
Because what I was told is about 400 people get to go in front of the judges, and about 300 of them will get enough yeses to move through, but they only ever air about 120 auditions in total, which means there's 180 people that go, holy crap, everybody, goodbye, hello Hollywood, oh, you're a piece of shit, I'm going to tell you right to your face because now I'm about to be famous. And then they go back to, you know, Foot Locker and go, yeah, I don't know what happened, I thought everything was okay. And that's just, it's a story where I felt so fortunate to be aired that first time. And I did feel like, if nothing else, it did change my life because it allowed me to feel this fearlessness and this confidence of like, there's no way I'm ever going to go through anything that harsh on stage again.
Nope.
And the fact that I was able at the time I was 9 years into comedy, and I was able to stand up and stare into these faces, and I was like, I'm better for this. Like, this will forever alter my life and the way I look at situations in everywhere. Every situation, not just comedy,
100%.
you know?
100%.
So,
I feel the same way. That was the worst blow. And I've had a lot of blows in this industry. That was definitely the worst. Just because it was on such a global, stage platform. And then 2 years later for them to, well, no, I think it was a year now or 2 years later, I get a text from a comic who was about to audition. He was going to the private auditions. They were using my video, my set, to send to comics to say, this is what you do to get through. He goes, I just wanted to let you know that I just watched you because the producers sent it to all the comics to say, if you want to get 4 yeses, this is what you do. And then I felt that rage again. I felt the rage when I found out that the
judges asked where I was in New York, and the producer said she had a problem with the contract. And I know it because I saw the transcript, which is a whole nother, story. But I mean, that's what he said. She chose to leave because she had a problem with the contract.
I feel like it's like they intentionally got you pregnant, then they made you have an abortion, and then they got mad, and then they were like, but hey, look at her because she is the mother of the year.
Exactly.
So watch what she's doing. And you're
Right.
like, but you made me abort the baby.
Exactly.
I was going to squeeze it into my hair.
They also
what
made
are
me
you doing to me?
They also aired my episode like 3 times, and they made me live tweet 2 of those times. And I'm like, what? They're like, your fans want to hear from you. I'm like, my fans are about to realize that I'm fucking like not go. And they did. I started getting all of those, like, where did she go? And also, by the way, people think that I came in second place. I was in the finals. Whenever I get intro, they're like, she made it all the way to the finals. I'm like, it was 1 episode. But you know what? I took away this, like, a different but the same sort of experience you did, life lesson, that was the best and worst thing that could happen to me. And I mean, my first show back that really snapped me out of it, the audience was there to see me and love me. It hadn't even aired. It was just a regular show at Irvine. And I was like, oh, fuck them. They can't ever take it away from me. And then
no.
And then 2018, it went viral again with Global's Got Talent, and it got another 40 million views. Oh. And I mean, it just was so, and I got a lot new, like, more fans, and I'm like, well, that's, you know what, I do it for them. Fuck it. It is what
Exactly.
it is, and I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. But okay, so now cut to, you have that experience. When do you decide I want to go back there?
So I was trying my ass off to get a late night set, and I had people that watch that show, they don't know what my stand-up comedy is. And I was like, okay, I've done this roasting thing on this show. Let me try to get on Conan, on Corden, on something, and show you what I can do as a stand-up.
Yes.
Nobody's returning my emails. So I'm just like, okay, how do I get back on TV? Well, when you're starving, you go back to the table that fed you before. Nice. So I kind of thought, like, hey, this audition went so viral. It was so controversial. And I know what it did for the show. And I know there's not a lot of people that are doing something like that. What if I went back and just apologized to them and did it all over again? And immediately the producer was like, give me a second. And like, it was like a couple of days later when I got the call, like, hey, no, you're good. You're going back on. You don't have to re-audition. Like, they do want to see a tape of what you're going to do differently, but you're good.
Oh,
and I was like, oh, holy shit. Well, then great. So I have an opportunity to redeem myself and to go back in front of these same audience members and show them that you're not shutting me down like that. And then, of course, I shoot on March 14th, when there is 0 audience and Heidi Klum is sick, people think she has COVID. We're in that same Pasadena Civic Center, 3,000 seats, and I am 75 feet away from these 3 judges with all the lights on and
no energy. There's no, when you are doing comedy for 4 people, there's nothing. You have nothing to feed off of. But
in a vacuum, and it's just the biggest space.
But here's the thing: if there was an audience there, what happened the first time could have happened again. It only takes a small portion of an audience to be like, oh no, and then everybody feels the same way. So it was kind of a blessing that they weren't there, because they got to really listen to you, and Simon already loved you, and they got to really be like, okay, these are really smart, funny, digs. They're really fucking funny. He's roasting us, and it's clever, and no one's done that, and that should be celebrated. So how did that feel? How did that feel when you were doing it?
It was the moment I started, I felt they started laughing pretty much immediately. Yeah. And I could hear crew and cameramen and producers laughing too and stuff. So I actually heard about 20 people laughing off to the wings and things. So I was like, okay, I know I'm doing a good job. I know I'm in the pocket. I know I'm doing this. And I really did have that feeling of like you're in your head and you're like, Alex, you're doing this. You got this. You're lacing this. This is exactly what you thought about. Like, you are doing, you're turning them. You're getting your redemption right now. And for them to say all those things to me afterwards, like how he's just like, I was wrong about you the first time. I got swept in the audience. You're hilarious. And Simon was just like, I don't know why I like you so much. You're such a dick. I don't know why. Like, you just do something. And even Sophia. So like they cut all my jokes for her. But
yeah, I was like, that's so weird. You didn't do any. Yeah, that was.
Oh, I did them. They were pretty harsh. I'll tell you, one of the ones I said was Sophia is from Columbia. If you've ever heard her speak, you know I don't mean the university.
Oh my God, that's fucking hilarious.
And I was really, and then I said, Sophia, I can't think of one reason why you're famous, but I can think of two.
Two. That's great.
And
come on.
yeah, and I was like, that's a perfectly clean joke. I thought
Yes.
acceptable for family friendly because kids aren't going to know, but the adults will.
I know.
And afterwards, she was so complimentary. She was like, I love you. Like, I love your outfit, your tail. I want you to come back and destroy me. And I was like, I looked right at her. I was like, oh, I will destroy you, Sophia Vergara. I will 100% do it. And just had that opportunity again. Was so incredible, even though it was such a different nightmare of like being in like this huge space with no energy coming back. But again, Jodi, if anyone knows how to do comedy for three people, it's an LA comedian.
For real.
You know?
Not
We
just
have done
three
that.
people, but three people that are judging you. That's every club in LA.
Yeah, 100%. I've done enough open mics at like shitty coffee shops to be like, oh, you are okay. I know how to work this.
I always tell,
enough.
like, you know, I taught stand-up for so long and still privately coach. And I'd always say to my students, you know, and I started comedy in New York, but I'd always say LA is the toughest crowd. If you can get LA proper, not Pasadena, because the Ice House is like amazing. But if you can get LA proper, like you can do anywhere because they are the judgiest. And there's a lot of people in the industry and they're like, oh, he thinks he's funny. Oh, he's doing this. They're smart and they have, like, so the savvy of New York, or they're also smart and they're just judgy. So it's like, it's a really difficult crowd to master. And once you do, you go anywhere else and you're like, that's why so many comics stay on the road. They come back to LA and their shit's not working. And I'm like, because that dick joke's not going to work. You know, it worked in Kansas City. They love dick jokes, but over here in LA, it's got to be a smart dick joke.
Right. You got to do something
Ivy
to make
League dick joke.
Look up from their phone and be like, oh, that was actually pretty good.
That was a good dick joke. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, your jokes have to be so good in LA that people look up from their phones. That's what it has to be.
Which is not easy.
At all. So then I saw your second set, which I thought was, you know, it's, you actually, you know, you're perfect for AGT and for what
in a weird way.
What I mean, in the way that the winner gets, you know, to do. Don't they get like a what is the way?
They get shows in Vegas.
Yeah, they get shows in Vegas, and that's like you're that type of show. Not your regular stand-up is also incredibly funny, but that type of character, that type of crowd work, that is perfect. It's what the show is about. Like whatever the winner gets to do shows in Las Vegas, and that would be a perfect act. You know, for the road, for corporates, for Las Vegas. Like it's clever. It's, you know, you're a character, you know?
Yeah, very much so. And that's how I separate, like my stand-up is very much me. It's a hyperbolized version of me. But when I do roasting stuff, I can't just be another angry, straight white male.
No, I can't do roasting. I just can't go there. But yes, I think when you like put yourself into like a different sort of character, it makes it
It's this unbridled arrogance and like kind of just like je ne sais quoi, like kind of just like, you cannot hurt me right now. I have all the confidence in the world. I can look right at you and know exactly what to say. There's no much, like I go into a mindset when I kind of do that character. And it's just a matter of like, the one thing I needed was, I hear them say it again and again. Every performance, you need to step it up. It needs to be better than your last one. And I thought, okay, there's a million things happening this year that are, you know, every day was another email of like, okay, scratch that whole plan. We got to do something else with the show. We're going this direction now. We're doing this. And I just realized I was like, I know I'm not going to have an audience. How do I do this again with no audience? How do I make it bigger and better? And then I started really designing this concept of like, a children's storybook. And what if the images were behind me and they were drawn, my roast jokes were drawn to life, and all of these things. And I thought, like, I am stepping it up and I'm evolving as this roaster and this character. And they're going to know. There's no way that they can't see what I'm doing and see that I am doing something so much bigger than what I've done my other performances.
Right.
And getting to watch, like, when I was on that stage, like, in that moment, again, everything is against me. I have no audience. I have 3 iconic billionaires. All the lights are on. This show is live. I've never told these jokes to anyone except a few comedian friends. Everything is out there for me to fall flat on.
And your biggest supporter, Simon Cowell's not there.
Not there, right?
That was my favorite joke, by the way.
Oh, which one?
That he had no right being on an electric bike. That's like, it's so great.
I took out one of my favorite jokes just so I could insert that one. I had one ready for him that was I gotta say, your dentist is good. Your teeth are so white they sell gourmet coffee in a bad neighborhood.
Oh my god, it's hilarious.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't want to lose that one. And producer's like, you got to pick one. I was like, I need to do the electric bike joke. I just need it.
I mean, it is so great. It's what everybody was thinking.
Yeah.
It's so then you got voted off. Well, you didn't get voted through, I should say.
I mean, which we honestly expected on a show like that. Even though that, like you said, that is a perfect show for me. And in some ways it is, because I'm willing to be this outlandish exaggeration of what a stand-up comedian is, right? I'm willing to put on these crazy outfits and just kind of just be larger than life and take myself out of it. And that is what they want in a lot of ways. But what that audience wants is easy, digestible, like, country music played by 2 former cops on an acoustic guitar of a U2 cover song. And that's
a girl with a cleft lip who,
Yep.
Exactly.
Well,
who has OCD, you know what I mean? Who's singing a song. They want all of that. Yeah.
They asked me, Jodi, they were like, what if, for this round, what if you made fun of the show? And I was like, and my producer told me this. I was like, oh, so you want me to talk about how if you're a mediocre juggler, but you watched your family die in a car accident, that you'll make the finals? Or if you're a comedian and you're crippled, then you're going to do really well, even if your jokes aren't that great. And the thing is, like, I respect every single person that goes on that show. I give it up to them. But the fact is, I am dangerous in comparison to what that audience is looking for.
Yes.
They're watching that shit with their kids.
I know.
And all of a sudden I come out and they just see me as this bully, and they think that I'm teaching bad values, because they don't understand that, like, this is just silliness and fun. This all comes from a place of love. The fact is, like, how can you look at me and think this is serious? That's what I don't understand.
It's so ridiculous. I mean, we obviously know a lot of people are like way too sensitive. And I mean, for me, looking back at the set that I sent them that we were going to go with, was all about me being a cougar, or, as my joke is, because I'm Jewish, a Juger.
Juger, love it.
Dating young guys. And I watered it down, but my producer was like, I love it. I'm a cougar too. And then I could see them being like, it's just not family friendly. Like, people are going to be like, oh, she sleeps with young guys. You know what I mean? So I could see it being like being too risque, which is like, then they didn't even give me the opportunity to give them anything else. So, but I have a feeling that that's what it has to do with, because you're right. It would be a little bit too risque. And looking at all the shows I did after my episode aired, I had a lot of people that came to them, like, older, people from Orange County that were like, I'm sorry, I thought I was getting an hour worth of like dog and cat material. Like, did she just say she fucks 27-year-olds? People were like horrified when I started like actually doing my set, and they're like, wait a minute, what? Like, I thought you were like, you're just a dog. What are you talking? Like, people couldn't, they were like really upset. And I was like, oh, that's the backlash of being on a show like that, is that they expect you to be incredibly clean, not talk about anything that's going to ruffle any feathers, or ruffle.
Seen that happen. Yeah. Do you know Samuel J. Comroe?
Yeah, I know Sam. Yeah.
he killed it on AGT,
Yeah.
made it all the way to the finals. And then people were showing up to his shows going, whoa, like you're cussing? How dare you?
Yeah.
And it's just like, they're like, you didn't do that on AGT. It's like, yeah, of course I didn't, because
we're not allowed.
Yeah, but like now that you're coming to a show and they're like, you know, we made you who you are, Sam Cobb. He was getting literal like messages like, you'd be nothing without us. He's like, I've been doing this for 12 years, 13 years without you guys. What are you talking about? Like your brand. I love the people like, I've been there since the beginning. It's like, oh, since my audition in July, that's the beginning.
Yeah, well, you know, because those are the people that watch the show and think that we literally walked off the street. And you know, because they're seeing people that are just like waiting online, and I'll tell people, I'm like, that's not how they pick the contestants. Like, you just like be aware of like what you're watching. It is produced. The whole thing is produced.
Yeah.
Did I deliver groceries? Yes, I did at the time, but that wasn't my only job. I'd also, you know what I mean, been doing a lot of other things. And like, I remember they cut this part out. They only used the second part when they were, you know, talking to me after my set, which was equally as like, my heart was so full, it was about to burst. But Howie said, you know, you've been doing this almost 20 years. Like, what, how are you not a star? And I'm like, exactly. Like, you tell me. Yeah. And then, but they only cut to him being like, you know, I have a good feeling after this you won't be delivering groceries anymore. Well, joke was fucking on him. I actually, literally, I lost my freelance job, not because of that. It just happened. It was bad timing. I used all my savings trying to get pregnant right before that audition. So I literally was just delivering groceries at the bottom of every part of my life. My mom had died. Every single aspect of my life was so horrific after that. But Howie did say, after this, your life's about to change. And I'm like, you're damn straight it did. And then, you know, but then cut to 4 years later, everything changed for the better. And, you know, we're exactly where we're supposed to be. The experiences we're having are the experiences we're supposed to have. 100%.
Yeah. What people don't, people say like, aren't you angry that they voted you off? Like, you wanted to go further. It's like, well, of course, I had a big plan of how I was going to step it up again and show people something completely different. But the fact is like, I can't help but feel, and I think you probably feel the same way, is that we did everything we could with our time on that show and the platform that they gave us. And we have absolutely no control over what happens after that.
But,
so use it.
Well, we have no control what happens, on the side of like, clubs and, opportunities, but we do have, the control over how we react and what we do next. Like,
yes.
You know what I mean? Like, I could have left the industry. I could have just moved to a farm and started breeding and selling cats, I was like, I'll just do that and that'll be my life. I could have easily given up, but I obviously was not going to do that. And what came after was because I was like, well, now I'm taking control back of what I can do. You know what I mean? And you did the same thing. You got back on that show. You showed them that you were more than that first audition. You got back on, and actually, of course, I just wanted to make it to the lives because for those of you who don't know, like, that's just going to increase your, your price on the road. It's going to, increase your quote for clubs, but right now nothing's open, so it's kind of like a bittersweet thing. You got to the lives, but you can't really do the road anyway. But the great thing about that set that you did is you can make videos right now ripping other people. You should keep doing it and keep that momentum going, because clubs will open again. I mean, some of them are open at like 30 to 40% capacity. But if you keep that going on your own, I mean, this is sort of the best and worst time for it. I mean, everything is virtual. Everything is virtual anyway. Why not keep it going so that when the world opens up, it's all fresh in their mind? You know what I mean?
Definitely. I mean, that's been the one thing I've been like struggling with for the past couple of months is what's going to be the best way to leverage this if I can't just email every club in the world and be like, hey, check out this clip here. And so it's just a matter of like, I have a documentary that coming out in like a few weeks there. I did a tour in London last year and my friend edited the whole thing down into this beautiful half-hour like mini special essentially. And I'm finding other ways to like get put myself out there, because it is like, I don't want this to go and just disappear into the universe, and that could easily happen. And I'm just making sure, like, for me, it's just a matter of like, look, this is just another thing I get to do. And everything, you can never have expectations, because if you have expectations, you're always going to be disappointed. I watched people in the beginning of the season grow their Instagram by 5,000 to 100,000 for some of the contestants. God. I got just under 2,000 over the course of my 2 performances. But even though people are like, well, that's not that much, I know they are legitimate, and I know they are there for the right reasons. And that's why you do a show like that, is because you make a statement about who you are as a performer, and how you want to present yourself. And if nothing else, I would encourage anyone that's going to go on a reality show like that, never pander to what you think they're going to want, and try to think of yourself as so much bigger than just a stand-up comedian. I think that's why comics didn't do well on the show this year, because even though there were some A-list headliner comics, without an audience,
it's not even.
People are like, I didn't seem like he did that good. I'm like, of course he didn't do that good. Try telling jokes into a mirror and tell me how fucking hard it is. Because that's essentially what we've been doing.
Trust me, I do. I tell jokes into the mirror all the time, and it's painful.
Yeah, it hurts a little bit.
I'm like, you think that's funny? You dumb bitch.
I will say, like, my time on that show has taught me so much, because every single time I was playing the game on extreme hard mode for a different reason. And it's not there. The situations were so much less than ideal, but it doesn't mean that I have an excuse to go out there and fail. I can't be like, well, I didn't have an audience. Well, the lights were too bright. Well, Sophia gave me a fail. Like, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. No, it doesn't matter how you get somewhere. It's what you do when you get there. And that applies to like everything. So this is what you were given. This was the hand you were dealt, and you fucking ran with it, and you did better than most. And yes, this was a very hard season for comics for those reasons, but you found a way to make it less difficult by roasting the judges and the people in that room. Then you're not just speaking into a vacuum. You know what I mean? You're not just telling jokes to like 4 random people plus the crew. You're actually connecting with them, and it just works. It totally works. Also, you were like, of course a girl's gonna say this, but you were like 15 pounds lighter too.
Yeah, I'm glad you noticed. Thank you.
Oh my God, yes. Oh my God, you're in such better shape. I mean, like in a great possible way. I mean, honestly, when I saw that, when I rewatched 2018, I actually was like, oh my God, because I never like looked at you and thought, oh my God, he's fat, he's so overweight. But you're also in like this like unitard. So I was like, you're in this full like one piece, latex one piece, whatever that first thing was. I was like, oh my God, he's really lost a lot of weight. So you looked healthier, better, stronger, fit. Like everything about it was just right. You know what I mean?
That is so nice to hear, because honestly, like, you do a lot of work on yourself, and it's like you tell yourself, like, look, it's all for myself. It doesn't matter if other people notice or not. But to have someone like you say that and notice it, I'm just like, okay.
Oh no, good. Totally. Well, I mean, I've noticed just from like seeing you at clubs and stuff like that you look, leaner and healthier. But I mean, it's not until you see the comparison. When things happen over time, or when you see somebody enough, it's not like, it doesn't click until you see something like that. And I'm like, oh my God. So like, what made you decide to like, lose the weight?
I mean, I used to be about 50 pounds heavier than I am now. When I first came to LA, I was definitely in like that super chubby friend category. And which was fine. It worked for me for a while. And then I lost a bunch of weight and stopped booking things like commercials and sitcoms and stuff. And I was in this they were like, hey, you either got to go down another 20 or up another 75. And I was like, shit, well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do either of those things. I feel good. But mainly, I'll tell you what got me in such good shape is I slackline. I'm one of those people who I walk on tightropes in the park and the beach and stuff like that. Shit. So I can stay on a slack line for up to 2 hours at
Oh my
once without
God.
falling off, just walking back and forth. And it's so good for your core
I
and
was
your
gonna say.
brain, and every single part of your body is like being exercised in a different way. And just doing that for the past couple of years and a lot of push-ups and stuff, it just got me in control of my body, and I just didn't
feel like
feel the
that's
need.
such a great exercise for being present. You have to be
Yes.
present when you're on that, because I can do a workout and I'm still thinking about a million things, because we're doing, whether I'm doing a strength training or like yoga, like I got these poses, even though yoga, you're supposed to be very present, but your brain is still sort of like, okay, I'm in a down dog, but I'm thinking about like, what I'm going to do later today, X, Y, and Z. But like, you can't with
Right. Who was that
slacklining,
27-year-old I met last
yes,
night?
what's it like? Is he going to text me or what? But oh, here we go, Warrior 2. But I mean, with yeah, exactly. Slacklining though, yeah, you have to be so present.
Yeah.
How
Oh
high
my
up
God.
are you? How high up are you when you're doing it?
Usually I'm only a couple feet off the ground. I did try to do it between two canyons once where I was about 75 feet up. And I was attached. I was wearing a harness and a
Okay,
leash,
good.
but I
Oh
tried.
my God.
I'm not trying to kill myself. But typically I set it up in the park just between a couple trees, and I'm only a couple feet off the ground. But I mean, it made everything in my life improved because my focus got better.
Yeah.
I was, like you said, I was more meditative, I was more present, but I also felt the strength in my body. And when you're doing something like that, you also have this feeling of like, people kind of like it, like, this isn't why I do it, but people walk by and they're like, wow, that is amazing. Oh my God, do you see what this guy's doing over here?
Well, that's why
And
I would do it. I only do things so that people tell me how amazing I am. Please.
I mean, me too, secretly. But
I mean, if we're being really serious.
I do love. There are times when I'm doing it, and I'm like, why is no one paying attention to the fact that I'm doing this right now?
But you know what, though? It's very similar to like, and every comic is guilty of this. Every fucking comic is guilty of this. The further along in your career, you do this less, but we're all guilty of it. Like doing a show and then kind of hanging out in the lobby casually, where the crowd is exiting, so that people can be like, oh my God, you were so funny. You're like, oh, wow, thanks. I just going to the bathroom. Like,
Oh yeah, I was just over here just getting a slice of pizza.
What? Oh, you saw the show? You were there? Thanks. I mean, like, we're like positioning ourselves right by that door, which is just
Yeah, I do
like,
that.
you're at a different level when you're like, you can do your set and you're like, I'm out of here. You don't even need to like wait for anybody to say anything. But then once in a while, you're just having a bad day. You're just like, I'm just going to hang out here and let people tell me that I was funny so that I can feel good about myself and I don't cry myself to sleep. I'm just kidding, everyone. I'm okay.
But I'm sure you have felt that over the past few months of like not performing
well,
hardly at all.
yes, it is brutal.
Yeah, that validation. I told my fiance one day, I was like, look, I love you more than anything in the world. You cannot give me the amount of love that I need as a human being and for my narcissism to stay at bay.
No, we get it from being on stage. We get all that validation from being on stage. And it's really difficult when that stopped. I had an identity crisis. I think we were talking about this the other night because my show was on hiatus and I wasn't performing. And I was like, well then who am I? If I'm not a writer, producer, if I'm not performing comedy, then who am I? Because I'm not a wife. I'm not even a girlfriend. I'm not a mother. I'm a cat owner. So I'm like, what am I? And I know that's, for some people they're like, oh my God, you're 1,000. It's like, but that's where our brains go because we've been doing this for so long. And that's how we identify, like, especially if I don't have anything else, I put everything into my career and my job. And, maybe that's the lesson that it shouldn't be all about that. And, and that's why I'm adopting a child so that I can at least say I'm a mother. I'm just kidding.
I love that
I'm
so much.
doing it out of love.
You are doing it though, right?
I am doing it. Yes. There are a lot of, our planet's definitely overpopulated and I definitely tried to have my own child. And I mourn that loss. AGT, when I got on AGT, I thought, oh, that's why none of my procedures worked because I was supposed to be on AGT. And when I found out I was going on it, I had gained some weight from the medication. So I was like, I went off the medication and I was like, I got back into like fighting shape because I was like, this is my opportunity. And I was like, this is why it's all meant to be. And then when that didn't work out and I already used all my savings on it, my doctor was like, everything changed and I was going to have to take more extreme measures and I had no more money and I was just already broken down and it was definitely not the right time for me to be making those decisions because I was still so like, I had like post-traumatic stress disorder. I actually did have it from that. I had it from that and from my mom dying the year prior. And I didn't know I even had that until I went to buy my house a year and a half ago. And I was waiting for something bad to happen. My life was at a really great place. I was about to close on this house, and I literally was like very tense. And someone was like, "You just don't seem happy." And I realized that those two events back to back, my mom dying suddenly, and then AGT happening the way it happened, just like overnight, I definitely had PTSD. I was traumatized a little bit, like expecting something horrible to happen when you're in a good place.
Yes.
And it didn't. And that was a good thing, because I'm able to now, if those emotions come up, be like, that doesn't always happen. Of course it happens. Bad things happen. Good things happen. Great things happen. Horrific things happen. It's called life. You know what I mean? But I didn't realize that I was still carrying that sort of like, oh my God, the other shoe's about to drop. Like, I really thought for me, AGT was a done deal. Like I know, I'm like, look, I know everything that happens in the world of reality. I know how produced it is. I know these things can happen. I've heard all the horror stories. I know that it's, rigged in a certain way or pushed in a certain way. I just thought, oh, it's going my way this time. It never crossed my mind that was going to happen to me. So it fucked with my head, but I learned a lot of great lessons, as did you. You know what I mean?
You know that feeling you were just speaking of, I just read a book about this it's called The Big Leap, and that feeling of like everything's going right, something terrible is about to happen.
Right.
The term they use it for in the book is upper limiting yourself, where literally you can see yourself about to take off, and all you can think is, well, something's got to bring me back down. I don't deserve that for some reason. That's too much happiness. This is too many good things in a row. So something has got to happen. Either I'm going to get sick, so I'm going to lose someone in my life, I'm going to have a job taken away, because in your mind something has gone on where you feel you don't deserve all that happiness, when in fact you of course do. Of course you do. You have been a wonderful person who has worked their ass off, who's intelligent and funny and beautiful and smart, and all you want to do is just be like, of course I deserve these things, but my brain is going to be like, no you don't. And it's just like, and it's hard to get past that kind of feeling.
It's very difficult. Okay, well, tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, hoopercomedy.com is my website. At Hooper Hairpuff is on all social media. I'm very easy if you Google me to find.
Well, I'm going to have all your information too. All the information. If you're watching this video right now, it's beneath, like right below you, like right here. Like right there. It's right there.
Yeah,
and
I just want to say, Jodi, this is such an honor to do this. You're someone who I've watched like since I started comedy, and you've been such an inspiration. You always go out there and you're just so funny, and you're so personable, and you're so kind to like younger comics like myself, and like that. Which, by the way, I'm totally older than you. Don't worry about it.
You're definitely not.
I know. But like it's one of those things where like to get to be on podcasts like this because of those experiences, like this is why I do this, is because we get to have these kind of conversations, and it just means the world to have you ask me to do this. So thank you.
Oh my God, thank you. I've always been a big fan, and again, when I think I meant to even like talk to you about after 2018, just because anybody that goes on any of these shows and has these experiences, highs or lows, it's just there's like a unique club to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then to see you come back and redeem yourself and really show America, just how fucking funny you are and smart.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? It's really, most people would have just been like, and that was it. And you fucking found a way. And that to me is like perseverance. And it's the epitome of when one door closes, another one opens. You just have to be willing to see the other door. It's like we're staring at the door that's closed for so long, we don't see that there's a fucking like door behind us that just opened up, or a fucking window over here. We're just looking at that door that's closed. And you didn't. You were like, how do I get back in that room? Oh, there it is. I go right through there.
Yep. Stay open, everybody. That's all I can say. You don't know what is going to lead you anywhere. So just do whatever you do it 100%, believe in it, and who knows where it's going.
I love it. Oh my God. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for listening, everybody. I'm Jodi Miller, and don't fucking call me ma'am. That was awesome.
Thank you. And by